Hi, both. Thanks for joining us today on our Business Gurus channel, where we will be discussing key business topics to help students grasp the most important elements of their course in preparation for their exams and future career. Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive in. Today we're looking at something really core to, well, any business really,
Hmm.
stakeholders.
Yeah.
And specifically, we're zooming right in on one internal group. Now, we've only got one source for this deep dive. It's actually just a single slide, and it focuses totally on employees as these internal stakeholders.
Yeah, just the one slide makes it very focused.
Exactly. So our mission, it's simple but pretty important, I think. Using only this slide, we want to quickly get to the heart of who employee stakeholders are and, well, according to this source, what they really care about.
Hmm.
Think of it like we're unpacking the source's specific take on this core idea.
And starting with employees, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they're so central to the day-to-day, aren't they? This slide, even though it's just one, it gives a really direct view.
Absolutely. So, okay, the source material, it lays things out under business stakeholders, then drills into internal stakeholders,
Yeah.
employees. So how does this specific source define an employee? What's the wording?
It's very clear, very direct. It says an employee is someone who works for the business and wants job security, fair pay, and good working conditions. That's it. That's the definition provided. It sets out their position and kind of their basic wants.
Right. And what's interesting there is the definition itself packs in quite a bit.
Mm.
Works for the business, wants security, wants fair pay, wants good conditions. It's all baked in.
It is, yeah. Those three desires are right there in the core definition.
And then the source kind of highlights main interests. What does it list there?
It pulls out two specific points for the main interests,
Yeah.
just two. It lists wage, salary, and a good working environment.
Okay, so wage, salary, and environment are the main interests listed, even though security was in the definition part.
Exactly.
What might that suggest, just based on how the slide presents it? I mean, the structure.
Well, that's a good way to look at the source's emphasis. You could perhaps infer maybe it sees security as almost like a given or part of the fundamental status of being an employee. While the wage and the environment, those are perhaps the more, active interests, the things they're actively pursuing or maybe negotiating within that role.
Right, the day-to-day focus, maybe.
Yeah, it feels like the slide's way of kind of boiling the employee stake down to these really tangible things. And that framing, even though it's simple, it's quite insightful, I think. It cuts through a lot of complexity. It just says, okay, according to us, these are the drivers.
It really does simplify it. And it makes you think, doesn't it? Think about your own work, maybe, or jobs you've had. Does that basic definition and those two main interests, does that ring true as the absolute core, at least from this source's perspective?
Yeah.
It focuses the lens on that basic employment transaction.
And that focus is the real value here, I think. Understanding these specific points the source is making.
Yeah.
The definition covering security, the main interest being pay and environment. It gives you a really concise snapshot of the employee stakeholder perspective as this material sees it anyway.
A fundamental piece.
Definitely. A piece of the puzzle for understanding how different groups might interact with a business, its successes, its challenges.
Okay, so let's wrap up this quick dive then.
Mm.
The source material, it clearly puts employees forward as internal stakeholders,
Mm-hmm.
and it highlights these fundamental needs and interests: compensation, job security, and the quality of their working conditions, very explicitly.
Right. And for you listening, grasping how this particular source distills the employee's role down to these points, it offers a kind of shortcut, a clear lens onto one really crucial part of how businesses work.
Which naturally leads to a final thought for you to maybe mull over. If, like this source suggests, these are the core interests for employees, what questions does that raise about how their needs might line up with, or maybe even clash with, the interests of other groups involved in a business? Something to think about. Thanks for diving in with us on this one.
Thanks to both of you for joining us today. You've been listening to the Business Gurus. Let's now hand it over to you. What further questions do you have based on what we've discussed so far? Leave a comment and we'll get back to you right away. If you haven't already, hit that follow for more business tips.